Hello and welcome to this Sunday evening. It's me again, and I can promise you I'm nearly done. So you won't be able to see my ugly mug or listen to my boring voice whilst I talk you through the countdown to the great James Bond sound off. So yeah, thank you once again for taking part. Um, and yeah, and I mean, please leave your comments and discussion, and let me know if you agree with where things land. So I'm going to be going from number 10 uh, and counting down 5 from that. So at number 10, we have, and this one's for you, Alex, Diamonds Are Forever. Now, we all know how much Alex absolutely worshipped the film. And yeah, so this one, it's here, and it's coming number 10. Yeah, I mean, it's John Barry again, who from now on, I mean, no spoiler alert, but I think you can pretty much tell that from now on it's going to be John Barry. So that just overall sums up what a genius and what a legend he was in creating the Bond sound, which can't ever really be replicated. Let's be honest. So Diamonds Are Forever. Yeah, I mean, I must admit that back in 2022, when they released all the Bond films for the 60th anniversary on the big screen, when I went to see Diamonds, just experiencing it on the big screen with surround sound, the music actually really. I mean, I never. I would have thought. I mean, there's a time when I thought this was probably John Barry's weakest kind of score, but in Goldfinger and Thunderball and You Only Live Twice in Majesties, they're all kind of pretty out there, pretty very brassy and bombastic. And I thought, well, Diamonds, it kind of took a bit of a left turn. It's not really that. Well, it is. I mean, there's some high brass stabs in there, which I really like. I mean, it's got Winton Kids theme, which is played throughout in various ways. But I mean, overall, it's a very kind of loungy soundtrack. I mean, if you want to, bring a woman over and seduce her, just stick this on the old, you know, turntable and turn her on, I suppose. Um, but yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's a good soundtrack. I mean, there is one thing, one track which has never sat with me, and that's the music that accompanies the Moon Boogie. Um, I just find it really jarring. I would have probably much preferred if he just didn't bother putting music on that, because it just doesn't. As much as I like John Barry, that out of his whole career and out of his whole tribute towards Bond, it's just that one track which, it just doesn't seem to fit. But that's my opinion. So anyway, Diamonds Are Forever comes up at number 10. Now number 9 is A View to a Kill. And to talk about this, to talk about this, we have none other than Mr. James Scott, who, as we know, absolutely detests the film. He hates it that much that he's going to just come on and just tell us how great this score is and how much he loves that film. Because thanks to him, I've also, it's a bit like Alex and Never Say Never Again. That when I first saw Alex at a Bond gathering, he had a Never Say Never Again T-shirt. I thought, wow, this is interesting. We have somebody who has a love for Never Say Never Again, because back then Never Say Never Again was a very controversial film, and James was. I mean, A View to a Kill was kind of always a little bit didn't sit well with me, because I thought Roger Moore's way too old, but Alex's love for Never Say Never Again and James's love for A View to a Kill has totally changed that. It's made it. Their love is totally infectious, and I, now see both films with different views, and I just think, you know what, they are actually pretty good films. And I've always had a very strong opinion on this score. This score to me is John Barry doing his the best bits of Bond. There's a Majesty's in there. There's a bit of Thunderball. There's a bit of Goldfinger. You know, there's a bit of everything in here, and it's a very dark score in places. There's you know, and again, all you know, there's some bits which are not on the bloody album. So come on, La, pull your pissing finger out and please us get these expanded. But yeah, no, this comes at number 9, which kind of surprises me really because I was expecting to be a little bit higher. But you know, it just overall shows you how great a score it is, considering that we have only half a score available on the album. The other half of the score, you've got to watch the film to listen. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, it's John Barry. I mean, John Barry cannot go wrong with Bond. But if anything, I actually think this is probably... I actually probably prefer this score to Octopussy. But yeah, no, it's John Barry, you know, number 9, and yeah, I think it, you know, pretty happy. I mean, it's in the top 10. It's in the top 10, so I'm pretty happy with where it's landed. Number 8 is John Barry's first Bond score, From Russia with Love. So this is where he kind of... Goldfinger was where he had full control. This is where he had kind of semi-control. So obviously Lionel Bart and, you know, wrote the theme tune and Barry kind of played on it. Now this, yeah, I mean, it's a number 8, and this kind of surprised me really because I was expecting this to be a little bit higher, because if I want to see, you know, if I want to go and listen to a John Barry James Bond soundtrack, this would not necessarily be the one I go to. This, it just doesn't seem to be quite as memorable as others. And well, obviously, I mean, obviously, what we're going to find out is that, you know, a bit like Doctor No. I mean, Doctor No, everything was new, everything was still an experiment. Nobody knew exactly how successful it was going to be. You know, From Russia with Love, I think John Barry went in and he was kind of still finding his feet. And it wasn't until Goldfinger where the Bond sound was truly established. There's some great pieces in here. I mean, there's this stalking sequence for the pre-titles. I mean, I love his rendition of From Russia with Love, the instrumental, and then he blends the Bond theme into it. Again, he takes you... I mean, I think... I'm sure he said that when he went on location, he found it quite difficult to source the sound and kind of get the feel of it. But also what I love about this is there's a bit where the train goes by and Barry seems to da 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 da. That kind of bass line kind of captures the, you know, the track. So I think that's just an amazing. I think that's just brilliant of John Barry. How he kind of sort of, you know, tells you exactly what's happening through his music, and we'll go to that with his other scores, i.e. Thunderball. That's a perfect example of that. So yeah, no, From Russia with Love. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's in the top 10. From now on, everything's in the top 10, which is pretty good. But yeah, no, I'm actually surprised that this is where, because for me, it's always kind of a little bit forgotten. But no, it's great that it is recognised for, you know, for what it is. So yeah, so that's From Russia with Love was at number 8. Number 7, we have Live and Let Die, and we have none other than Mr. Stuart Kershaw to come and give his views on Live and Let Die score, because he's a massive Beatles fan, and obviously, you know, we have the Beatle connection, not just with Paul McCartney, but with George Martin. Yeah, so this is the first non-John Barry soundtrack to be in the top 10. And I'm totally up there because, you know, a lot of people have a lot of love for this score, and I do as well. Again, you know, what would it have sounded like if John Barry scored it? Wouldn't sound anything like this. I think George Martin came in at the right time, because he certainly kind of, add a fresh sound and add a fresh approach. And I mean, obviously, I mean, Live and Let Die, that was kind of done around the blaxploitation, kind of influenced by the blaxploitation era, such as Shaft and all that. And he kind of captures that sound. He has a lot of that like wow 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 guitar, and that kind of like funky sound. But also, I mean, I just again love his rendition of the Bond theme. The arrangements is slightly different. I mean, this is kind of the argument having the Mrs. I can sit there and play all these variations of the Bond theme. She's saying, well, it's the same shit over and over. No, it's not the same shit over and over. If you listen carefully, you just find that that's slightly different, and there's a little bit of an extra thing in there, and that's played, and he's added that in. But all composers do that. I mean, even John Barry did. I mean, for each film, he kind of varied the Bond theme up a little bit, and I think it's fantastic. It's brilliant. So yeah, Live and Let Die, and this was based on the La 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 expanded edition, which personally I couldn't quite see the point, because obviously it was expanded back in 2003, and I think we only got like 4 extra tracks. Could they not have got those 4 extra tracks back in 2003? Why did we have to wait like 20 odd years later to get them 4 extra tracks? Anyway, not complaining, because it's complete. Well, as far as we know, and then another 10 years down the line, oh yeah, it is now complete. We've now released another completed one. So then collectors are thinking, well, okay, what do we do with my previous soundtrack, which you've expanded? Do I sell that? Is it worth anything? Are people going to buy that, knowing full well that you've reissued again because you've uncovered some more pieces? Anyway, so yeah, Live and Let Die comes in at number 7, which, yeah, it's solid. It is a really cool, solid soundtrack. And yeah, I mean, what would the Man with the Golden Gun have been like if George Martin had returned? So yeah, that comes in number 7. Number 6 is Goldfinger. Now this is where it kind of all came together for John Barry. John Barry had full control. He wrote the title song with Anthony Newley, Leslie Bricusse, and obviously had Shirley Bassey to perform it. He weaved the Goldfinger theme into the scenic, driving through the Switzerland and all that. He has it for love themes. He has it for action themes. And again, he has the brass. So yeah, the Goldfinger, it's a really strong score. And John Barry's favourite as well. So anyway, that is it for tonight. But anyway, join Mr. James Scott tomorrow for his reviews on the A View to a Kill soundtrack, and then join Mr. Stuart Kershaw on Tuesday for his Live and Let Die soundtrack. And I'll be back on Wednesday to come down with the final 4, because it's not quite the final 5, because Quantum of Solace and Casino Royale had joined places, so that's kind of messed it up. But anyway, yeah, I mean, we've got 4 left, so obviously the 4 I haven't mentioned is the 4 that we've still got going. So what do you think will come out at number 1? Bye bye for now.